If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. I'm your host, the Innkeeper, and this is our live call-in talk show all about the Wheel of Time. Now, tonight is the first Wednesday of the month, what we like to call What Wednesday, although I guess we call that every Wednesday. But this is the first one of the month where we normally cover news, and we've made a lot of news and had a lot of news over the last month. Rafe, I guess Zoom bombs, what they call it right now, the JordanCon online panel that I moderated. I talked to Brandon earlier in April, and we had a fun interview with Sarah. We're going to break down all the stuff they said and kind of read between the lines a bit. I haven't had a chance to do that, so I can't wait to do that. But know that this is coming up next. Before I bring my guests in, I want to tell you that Monday night, we're going to have a little special live discussion about a little maybe mystery project I've been working on for a while. Can't wait to see you guys then. Just be available. Trust me, you'll want to be there. Then the following Wednesday, we're going to do a deep dive. Have Lauren from Unraveling the Pattern with us here next Wednesday. And then that Sunday, we're actually going to do our live adaptation episode. You'll see all about who our special guest will be then at that time. And the following Wednesday, we're going to have an interview with Mike from Mike's Book Review. Can't wait to have all these episodes. This is going to be a crazy another 2 weeks. We'll reveal more about what's happening. But with all that being said, tonight is our news episode. So let me bring my guests in. Welcome to the show, my panelist, John from the What Up YouTube channel. So glad to have you here. Thanks for making time. And my friends, Todd and Mary. Natalia couldn't be with us today, but it's awesome to have all three of you back on the panel tonight.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, so I know there are some of you that are watching that are like, I'm not here to hear you guys. I just came for the giveaway. That's right. We put this book club giveaway. Wadam Prime started their book club today. Hopefully those of you had a chance to go check it out on Twitter. It's quite an interesting format. Can't wait to see how they develop it. Saw a lot of conversations from fans. And to support that, just kind of our nod to encouraging everyone to jump into a reread right now. We're giving away 3 hardcover copies of The Eye of the World. So for those of you that jumped in, we had over 100 people, do all of the fun things. We, retweet, share, like, you had to follow the qualification. But if you did, we had, and a bunch on Instagram. So let's jump into, we're going to give away one of those right now and the 2 at the very end. That's right. We're going to give you a little satisfaction up front, but then you're going to have to wait. So Taylor, let's spin the wheel and let's pick a winner before we jump into our discussion. I feel bad for my panelists as they don't get to hear or watch, but it's really exciting. And I'm using everyone's tags on Instagram and on Twitter. So, I'll have to follow up with you individually. The winner is That's My Jam. Congrats to That's My Jam. I'll get a hold of you here after the show, and we'll do 2 more at the end. Okay, awesome. Thanks for everyone that joined that giveaway. It's just fun for us to kind of encourage more participation in these fun online reread type of things. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So, okay. Rafe Judkins, he showed up on the panel at JordanCon, and I've heard a lot of conversation about the things he said. There were some interesting things that individuals picked out of what they thought was the most interesting. One of those was this that he confirmed that there are going to be 8 episodes in the first season, and then he also suggested they're writing 8 episodes for the second season. I don't think that's necessarily a confirmation that's all we're going to get, but that is what he's targeting. And I think that was news in and of itself to everyone as far as like maybe this is a consistent thing we're going to see. John, did that surprise you that he kind of gave us that? Do you think that was on purpose or do you think that was accidental?
I think it was on purpose because, I mean, it was already essentially leaked at least once or twice, and everyone was speculating anyway. So I think that was just a little bit of information from him.
Yeah, I always say, I always tell people this. I think the first part was maybe not on purpose, but he wasn't worried about it. I don't know that he meant for the second part. That was
I can see that. That might have been reading too much into it. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, but it does give us some kind of target as far as when we think about. I mean, it helps us, right, Todd and Mary, when we start breaking down. We're breaking down book 2 during our live adaptation, and now we can say, okay, we have 8 episodes there. Although I guess we don't know where they split on books.
We don't. We really don't.
But it does at least give us 16 episodes, and what can we cover in 16 episodes, right? Depending on how far we go into book 2, right? I keep on thinking it's like chapter 12. I still kind of target that area, chapter 12, maybe chapter 15. Does it merit another 8 episodes from that point on? And how far do you go? Do you try to get into book 3 at that point? Oh man. Anyways, that's what giving us 8 episodes lets us do, is have a little bit of fun with, okay, so depending on how far we think they're going with the first season, how far can you get in another 8 1-hour episodes, right? And maybe that's what I'll ask everybody in chat is, knowing that season 2 is 8 episodes, how far are we going to get? Give me are we getting only booked up through end of book 2, end of book 3, halfway through book 3? What are your thoughts there? Todd, how far do you think that season 2 is going to take us, knowing that there's 8 episodes, or at least believing there's 8 episodes?
I feel like they're going to get the first 2 books. I really do. Just because there's so much Lord of the Rings running that we can cut out of there. The long, boring jogging through the fields that can be cut a lot. You know what I'm trying to say. A lot of that junk can be cut out, and I want it to be the first 2 seasons. I think it will be 2 books, 2 seasons.
2 books, 2 seasons. Wow, and that is a slower pace than I would imagine. John, do you think they're going to stick to that 2 books, 2 seasons?
I was in the first 2 books in first season camp until you and Rebecca changed my mind. So I think I think the first season will end right around where they get the Horn of Valor stolen, and the second season I think they may finish the Dragon Reborn.
Wow, you're going right to the end of the Dragon Reborn. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so by the way, for those of you that are watching, this will be a spoiler episode. We're not going to purposely ruin the books for you, but you're going to hear stuff like the Horn is stolen and stuff like that as we talk about things that Rafe and Brandon have said. I know, I can't believe that you just spoiled that. It's terrible. So yeah, that's interesting. End of Dragon Reborn. Is that where you're at, Mary? Do you think second season takes us to the end of the Dragon Reborn?
I wouldn't be surprised if we see it go all the way to the end of the Dragon Reborn. That is an obvious season finale type episode. And, but to be able to do that, they're going to have to condense and cut a lot, or at least, make some tough choices in there. I don't know what yet because we haven't started doing our deep dive into the Dragon Reborn.
I know, right?
But yeah, it's tricky. It really is going to be tricky. I'm curious to see how they do it.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, I feel like it's really going to get tricky when we get a little deeper, like to the Fires of Heaven, because that book is so big that's when it's really going to be stretched.
Yeah. I want them. I almost want a full season just for the Shadow Rising. I just want a one season. I know it's probably not realistic to ask for that, but that's what
Any
I want.
book needs that other than A Memory of Light. It would be Shadow Rising.
Yeah. So that was one of the most obvious things that came out. I think a lot of fans were talking about this 8-season issue, but I want to show this quote to the screen. It's Rafe's. It's this first quote I have with Rafe. He mentions, well, let's just read it here. He said, "I always say that my job is to protect the spine and the heart of what the books are, and make sure that through all of the bazillion things that happen because of money and casting and timing of movement and what places we can be in on what days and what a dog can do on a Saturday, these kind of things affect the decisions you have to make." I love that quote, and I feel like this is going to be a theme from all the things that I hear from Sarah and Brandon and Rafe, which is this education to fans about what an adaptation really is, right? It's not that we haven't seen it in other shows. It's not that we don't generally understand what an adaptation is. But they're like, hey, you love these books, so let's have a chat. Let's talk details, which is, look, things aren't maybe going to turn out what you think they're going to turn out because there's things like what a dog can do on a Saturday. And that's a real... as much as it's a funny line, but that's the point, right? This isn't something where you can just say, well, why can't I just have everything my way? And I love that. And so I think the fact that he tells other people he's the heart and spine, right? Like he feels some protective nature to these, and in my opinion, and that's what I mean, read between the lines. For him to feel that way means there must be a severe amount of pressure to take out the heart and spine. Does that make sense? Like he's, when you think about your extremities, protecting your extremities, and as it moves back to your heart, right? Did John, did that quote mean something? Did you take that to be like, awesome, I'm so excited about it? Or like, oh my gosh, we just have to protect the heart and spine. Yes, please do.
No, I get excited about it. I know it's an adaptation. And a lot of fans do too. They know it's going to be an adaptation. Things are going to have to change, but I think what he's trying to say is he is doing everything he can to, do it justice, despite real life constraints. I mean, there's money, there's time, there's like all the things he listed, and probably 1,000 other things that we don't even think of that are probably vying against the perfect Wheel of Time show, and he's doing everything he can in his power to make it as good as he can. That's what I get out of the quote anyway.
And that's, I think, a very good point. There is no such thing as the perfect Wheel of Time show because the perfect Wheel of Time show is different for every viewer. I think what he's shooting for, and we have to give him the benefit of the doubt, is the best that can be done given those constraints. And he wants us to go in, those of us that are really hardcore fan freaks want us to go into this with eyes wide open. There are actual constraints that he has to work in, that the actors have to work in, the writers, like you said, there's labor laws, there's lighting, there's costuming, there's global pandemics, how much flour can you put on a dog before it looks like a dark hound, and how many badgers can you fit in a bag before PETA comes after you? I don't know. Those are the types of things that have to be juggled, and some things will have to change, and some things will have to be left out, and we can disagree with that, we can hate it, but we have to accept it.
Yeah, there's a quote here, Sarah. It's this first quote that I picked up that Sarah gave us that I want to put on the screen here, which kind of speaks to this. She said, "It's very important to me that it's clear other people are building out the story that exists from canon. It's just my job to provide as true, accurate, unbiased information that I can. If there is ever a question of something that's in a gray area, I try to provide information that is from various schools of thought." Now, she went on she elaborates what she means by that. But yeah, like these aren't decisions, right? In the end, it's not like every single decision Rafe can just be like, sorry, we're going to do it this way, and no one else gets to, have an opinion about this. Later on, I'll bring into a quote from Brandon about the same concept. But I think that one, once we get to Brandon's stuff, I think that'll be more applicable. But it's this, let's throw it up there, Taylor. It's Brandon, his first quote, I think he talks about the same idea. There are too many people for Rafe to keep in the loop to worry about me. He has executives at multiple production companies and at multiple studios who he's reporting to every day on how things are changing and stuff. Trying to make him keep me in the loop, that's not my role. I'm pleased that they are listening. Right? Like, all three of these individuals are painting a picture for us, and I think that we should listen to it. I think we should see the picture for what it means and understand that all these pieces, how they fit together, right? Multiple executives from multiple production companies and studios, right? And Brandon is telling us, I'm glad they're listening, right? Like here's Rafe saying, I'm protecting the heart and spine. Here's Sarah saying, I'm doing my best to provide as much information about the canon, but other people make these choices. And here's Brandon saying, he's got tons of people putting, where he has to, tell them what's going on. And as I juxtapose those three quotes, it really paints a picture that maybe fans in general don't want to accept in some days, especially when their favorite thing might be changed. But yeah, I liked those three together. Todd, did anything kind of stand out to you in those three kind of just quotes from Rafe, Brandon, and Sarah that you thought was interesting?
Yeah, something that he said a little earlier when he was talking about when he saw that they were going to do a show for the Wheel of Time, that he wanted it. I can't remember exactly how he put it, but that he wasn't going to let anybody else do this show but him. And I think that that kind of goes along with the spine and the heart, that he wasn't going to let somebody else screw this up. He was going to be the one to go in and take charge and make this work the way it should work.
Yeah, that's a great point. And by the way, if you're here watching us, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel if this is the type of content you enjoy. We do this weekly. It's a lot of fun for us. Our guests like John on here, love having him here with us. And yeah, if you like this, it's just going to make it easier for other fans to find the video. So, and by the way, we always appreciate our viewers out on Twitter and Facebook. Feel free to keep watching us over there, but always, come back later on to YouTube after you're done. And like I said, subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. So, but to Todd, to your point, if we go to that quote and we kind of pull that heart and spine idea out and examine it, Rafe went in knowing that this is what happens, right? Mm-hmm. In the wrong hands, the heart and spine can and will get ripped out, right? And he felt at the very least he could protect that, right? He could go in and protect that for fans, and he felt like that was something, and Brandon also speaks about that same kind of thing. And they did. I asked that question, and Rafe mentioned that he talked to Brandon, and they communed about this whole idea that they are both in a unique position, and the stress and the pressure of that, and they both could appreciate that. So yeah, that's a good call out. Mary, was there something that stood out for you between all those three quotes and this idea of adaptations and the pressures and such around it?
I have to say I'm giggling every time you say heart and spine because, I'm just visualizing that viscerally because you know me. Rip it out. I think it tells me that everybody that is involved at these higher levels they take this seriously. They're putting their due diligence in. They are taking great care with the source material. And that's good to know, because I would hate to have to, see something that was put together at the last minute and it airs at 1 a.m. We don't want anything like that.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yes, I mean, you went to the whole other extreme there.
yeah. I mean, not to say that the bar is set anywhere in the whole screen adaptation thing.
Sure.
But no, it actually makes me a little bit more cautiously optimistic about the whole thing. I think it will be enjoyable no matter what. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping it's enjoyable. I want to sit down and watch it. And I don't really watch much TV anymore. I'm usually reading or video gaming. So just to be honest, but I'm looking forward to this, and it's not just because I've been reading these books since 1991. I want to see how this unfolds. I want to see how it translates to modern sensibilities. I want to see a new take on it, and I want to see it stay true to the heart and spine, to the essence of what the Wheel of Time series is. And I'm optimistic. I have to admit, I'm optimistic.
One of those things I wanted to call out there, and we're absolutely going to get to that aspect that you just mentioned, which is, Rafe talking about, the modern sensibilities and such. But I want to do this one. This is we're going to take a little break. That was a very kind of serious discussion. I want to take a break to some fun speculation here. It's Rafe, the second quote we have from Rafe that I really want us to break down a little bit. Maybe I'm just seeing things, and not that ever happens, but let me read you this second quote.
Right.
Everyone's focusing on a different scene that he talks about here, but he says, we were shooting this scene with the girls, with Nynaeve and Egwene, and as we were doing it, we were at this beautiful gorge way off in the countryside. Okay, so normally I should follow that up with the story he tells about Barney and Yosha and Marcus, and how they rented a car and how they were kind of playing around. But no, when he said that, I was like, wait a second. They were off in the countryside, just like in the middle of nowhere. The boys were off doing something because we had the scene between Nynaeve and Egwene. Now, we know that episodes 7 and 8 have not been filmed. What does this say to you, John? Okay, so speculate with me. What is this moment? Are you just thinking this is like, oh, they're just talking, this is a scene in Emond's Field? Or do you think this is something that they've changed and that puts those two together later on off in the countryside?
I don't know. I couldn't really peg a specific scene that I think will be that early in season 1 with just the two of them off alone. It could be a segue to talking about the One Power or the reason they're leaving the village. I have no idea what it could be, honestly.
I'm going to ask chat this with the EF5. Let me ask the chat here, and then I'll ask you both. So this is a question that came up in kind of our live adaptation. Todd, do you think Nynaeve will leave with the 5 of them? Do you think that she's going along with, or do you think that they're going to follow the books and kind of keep to it where they meet up later on?
I hope that they follow the book.
Uh-oh.
Elaine is in there somewhere, and they're just not saying the name. But I don't know. I hope they hold true to the books. That's my thought on it.
Okay.
Well, that's why I was saying I don't think it's a scene that I would envision in season 1, because I don't think she's going to leave with them. I think she'll meet them and it'll happen later on, but they may add new things.
See, and that's again, and it could be that this scene takes place when he said off in the countryside. Maybe this was off where it was just in 2 rivers, and they were having some moments.
2. I mean, not season 2, but it could be book 2, because we have both Nynaeve and Egwene together on their way to Tar-Valon.
Mm-hmm. Could be a scene they shot ahead of time for that.
Especially
I mean, they don't
if they
have
mention
to.
a gorge.
Yeah, no,
That's
100%.
That's true. Yeah, I guess it was the fact that we haven't seen episodes 7 or 8 yet. Not that they couldn't again film something that they were going to use later. That certainly, I don't know. It was one of those things where he said it, and I mean, you got to speculate this kind of thing, which is you got it. Just a little piece of information there. It doesn't seem like any I've convinced. I think there were a couple of people in chat I saw that were like, yes, that's definitely what's going to happen. We'll see. This will be a fun one to come back to if it does turn out to be that way.
I had what struck me about that when Rafe was talking about that was, first it was hysterical that the 3 Tavern go on a road trip. They're sneaking out to go shenanigans. It just screams shenanigans, and I hope it's in an outtake reel somewhere, whatever those shenanigans are. And also part of me was like, yeah, here's Nynaeve and Egwene. They're working, they're getting stuff done, and the boys are off doing who knows what. That's pretty true to the books too. So
I just had a thought though. What if she shows up with Perrin and Egwene after Shatter Logoth? In other words, she's tracking them and somehow she gets to them there. Anyway, sorry, I was just like, wait, you could, instead of having her show up in Camelin, you could certainly kind of have it happen before, but not necessarily leaving with them. Anyway, it kind of opened up a window of maybe something's here. So I had to cover that. I had to cover, like, again, reading between the lines of the little things that he said is a lot of fun. So let's get to Rafe's third quote, which speaks a little bit to what you were saying, Mary. Every time they try to reposition stuff as it's like, this is about women empowerment, I'm like, no, it's actually about balance between genders. And I think that's much more interesting and much more important. I thought this was a fun call out to what you're saying, which is, how is he, are they making changes for a more modern audience? And then he does call out they, which I love the hidden theys that are pushing for messaging to come out about the books, right? That's something we have to keep into account, right? How are they going to sell this to the general public? And the they in that situation, I imagine, is all of the studios and production companies that are, maybe more so the studios here, involved in, well, what is the message here? And is this female empowerment? And like you said, he was like, no, this is balance. And he made the comment later on that he actually thought that was it's a message no one is really talking about. And it actually is a very modern message. And that Jordan, was definitely kind of ahead of his time talking about this. He didn't go the female empowerment route, which he certainly could have, right? Like these books could have all been a female empowerment kind of storyline, but he didn't. He stayed in the balance side, which I thought was really interesting, that he looks at this as the show already has modern themes, and it's just a matter of pulling those modern themes in. He said, we're not planning on lying anything on top of this. We're taking everything from the books. Mary, do you think there are going to be bigger changes of kind of thematic messaging, or do you think they're just going to adopt what's already there?
First and foremost, I'd like to say that female empowerment and balance are not mutually exclusive.
Oh, of course.
In fact, I would say they're probably the same thing, but that's neither there. I think, one thing that Rafe had mentioned that stuck out to me about the whole thing was, yes, this entire concept of balance. And I'm curious to see how it plays out. Like you said, these books were planned out and written in the 80s and 90s. And, here we are, it's 2020, and hopefully we've grown over the decades and have learned from the past and learned from our mistakes. And I'd like to see, a lot of the themes in Wheel of Time are still relevant today. I always felt that a lot of what Jordan put in the series was lampshading some of the foibles of our society. The white cloaks. Farmatting. Farmatting is a huge lampshade if you look at it, about what happens when things aren't in balance. And I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. And I hope the show keeps those things. They don't have to be, like many things, they're woven into the overall plot and the storytelling. And it's not in your face. It's not, knowing is half the battle type of a thing. It's just part of the narrative.
Knowing is half the battle. By the way, you had a lot of claps in the chat there when you made that. When you made your
Love
statement
you guys.
there. I was speaking more to the colloquial kind of like the cliche that people have built around it. Not that this isn't obviously about empowering both and including women in the conversation here. So for sure. But no, yeah, I like that point. That was a good call out. This last quote by Rafe that I want to bring up, it has to do again with changes. Let's see that. He said, because I asked him during the panel to give us kind of a final note, like leave us with something. He said, no matter what, there are going to be changes. There will be things that make you hate it. There'll be things that make you love it. And I think that's sort of just the truth of an adaptation of something that you love that much. Now, he does say a lot more there, but I love that he's coming straight up. Brandon has like the moniker, at least in my opinion, of speaking the truth. He's not hiding things from us. And I believe that Rafe has taken the same tack here with fans. He's trying to be as forthcoming as possible. And in this, coming straight out and saying, there's going to be some things you might hate something and you'll love something. And he's just like, that's just the nature of an adaptation. And I think he's speaking from experience when he talked about this before, which was, yeah, there's plenty of adaptations that are done where I love something, but then I hate something about it. John, what was your reaction to that idea of the showrunner coming out and saying, yeah, you're going to hate some stuff and you're going to love some stuff?
Well, I think it's refreshing because a lot of people that do that type of work will just say that this is the best thing ever, no matter how terrible it is. But I think what Rafe's saying is that because it's an adaptation, some things are going to change. And a change to me of a certain thing I may hate, but you may like. So, for example, they may cut Gowan, and I'd hate that, but a lot of the fandom would love that. So any little change they make, a lot of people will hate it, and a lot of people will love it because people feel so strongly about the books.
Yeah, Todd, is there something where, when he says that you're going to love and hate stuff, are you just going in with that assumption, or does that make you concerned? Are you worried hearing him say that?
I'm not concerned because it's something that Brandon said about it. This is a turning of the wheel. So no, I'm really not concerned about it. I mean, I know there's going to be stuff and I'm going to go, yeah, but I mean, there's no way on God's green earth they're going to stick straight to the books for this whole series. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm curious, for those who are watching in chat, at least what I can see right now in live chat on YouTube, I'm kind of curious hearing that. What is something that where you think to yourself, I would hate the show in this moment, or something that would make you really love an adaptation? I'm kind of curious if there's just something off the top of your mind that comes in to
Layla
play.
Ibarra.
That's gonna make you love it or hate it?
Yeah,
Hate it.
not love, but depends on how it goes. But flames.
Yes, and that's one of the things. And maybe I'll bring up. That's a good kind of segue here to Brandon. A second quote I have from Brandon from the interview that I did with him. He starts off by saying, "My reaction has been overwhelmingly positive, with a few key issues that I think are big deals that are going to be very divisive among fandom. Other than these one or two issues, which I do think are fairly large issues, everything else in there, some very large issues, are fantastically handled. And there is one in particular that I just don't like the change." And that's, so to your point, maybe he's like, Layla Ibarra, he's just like, I hate this. But he does speak to the fact that he didn't say, and I think Brandon would have said this, there are many issues I don't like, and there's some that I like. He said there's one or two things that are kind of standing out to him in his mind, which again is one of those, I love how forthcoming he is. And not only that, he talks about, in that same area, he talks about after the first couple of episodes, we can talk, which again, I love the little, right? It's like the little nuance of everything they say. After the first few episodes, right? He didn't say after the first 6. So it suggests that these two issues that he has will show up, let's say, in the first 2, maybe 3 episodes of the book. And so it does, it kind of calls back to that Layla Ibarra question. It's one of those questions of, what is the change that we see coming, and how much will it affect what we love or hate? And I will say this. I love that Rafe said it's true to any adaptation and something that you love. And I think at the end of that quote that I didn't include was, he just hopes that fans, like, his hope isn't that we're going to love every scene, right? He's not stupid. This isn't like a fairy tale for him where like everyone's going to love and it's like this kumbaya moment. No, in the end, he's like, I can't get the exact quote, but it was like, I hope that each fan can find a moment that they love and they feel like they're just seeing this thing that they've read and talked about for years on screen, and that they can hold on to that. Just kind of drop out of that critical place that you get in your head and just live in the moment. And I think that's all he can hope for, which I think is, that part's true. Was there anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
Honestly, in the whole book series, is there absolutely nothing in there that you didn't like? That's kind of the way I'm looking at this.
It's true.
Yeah, exactly. How much have we argued about what Robert Jordan wrote? Right? Like,
exactly.
Mary, pick something. How about just from the books themselves? What don't you like in the books? Give me a topic.
I thought you said no spoilers.
Oh, No, I said there were spoilers. There's spoilers. Okay. People that are watching, I think I saw Emmy in chat. So Emmy, close your ears here.
Emmy, close your ears.
I mean, how far are you going? Maybe preempt them a little bit.
Towers of Midnight.
Towers of Midnight. Wow. Okay, so for those who are listening, give it a minute or two. And
no, this is a big one.
Sarah, plug your ears.
Sarah, close your ears too. I'm sorry. Moraine should have stayed dead. I hated the fact that she came back. Oh my God. I put the book down. I took days off to read the book, but I put the book down and I didn't pick it up again until the next day. I was so mad, but I didn't give up. And, I got over it. I understood why it was there. I didn't agree with it, but that's just one thing. And there's a lot of things, we spent many, many years arguing with each other about these books. I mean, John, yes. you probably deal with it on a regular basis. And it's just the nature of creative work. Everybody's got different ideas. And it doesn't mean I hate the series. I don't think I've ever had a situation where I've really, really, truly enjoyed something. And something that happened that made sense made me go, nope, I'm done. Screw this.
Yeah.
I can't think of an example of that. Give me a moment, I might. But
and to everyone that's in chat, for those that were plugging their ears, let them know that they can come back. Mary is done ruining the books for them.
Yeah, I'm done for now.
She's done. It's over. But yeah, there's stuff like that. I won't mention what it was. There are things like that where we all are annoyed, right? And we all hate the book for that thing. And so it's unreasonable to believe that if that's how we look at the books, that there won't be those things in the adaptation. It's not like we love every metaphysic decision that Robert Jordan made, or that we thought they were all done well, or that they weren't in development and we thought they were kind of hazy at first or something. So when I look at all these, again, it's kind of setting the stage. We have a year to kind of get into this, but I'm well past the being annoyed by it and more just kind of really curious now. Like I'm like, what are they going to change, and how much am I going to love it more or hate it more? That comes up to me at least. This last, I want to share, I think I had one more Brandon quote here, and let me throw that up. He said, I think what Rafe is doing is consistent, and it works to make a great story, and it still feels like the Wheel of Time to me, despite a couple of shifts and moves. After the first episodes are out, we can talk about this in detail. I don't want people to panic. At the same time, I know hardcore Wheel of Time fans. I worked with hardcore Wheel of Time fans. They're going to have some things they disagree with fundamentally about the adaptation. So I want to talk about this idea of hardcore Wheel of Time fans. I feel like, as Theorylanders, there are a few of us here that can almost take credit for that moniker coming into the Wheel of Time. And
we earned it.
We earned it, right? I think
I can tell you the story about it some other time.
Yeah. There's a story that brings in why Theorylanders were called hardcore fan freaks. And in much that way, it's not that only Theorylanders are. I've met plenty of them from other communities. And Brandon's saying he's met them too, and he's worked with some of us, and he's talked to us at JordanCons. And when he says hardcore fan freak, to me, this is what I hear. And I'm kind of curious what you three hear. But what I hear is we care about every part of the story and how each piece fits together, and we need to see some kind of unity in how it fits together, to the point where if you change this one piece, it's going to set off, like this tumbling effect to other things that we're so worried about that you keep. And so you can't change this little minutiae, even as it's something really small, we care. And so when I hear him say hardcore fan freaks, I think, oh yeah, these are the kind of things he wouldn't want to change, not because fans that read the books are going to recognize it. It's because someday someone's going to corner him at a JordanCon and say,
yeah,
what's up with page 57, the seventh word in, that doesn't make any sense. That's not how Robert Jordan would have said it. How dare you change that word? I think even Matt, the way he said, bloody was one of the things that people talked about Brandon did improperly. It was like, how dare you change this?
Raise your hand in chat if you would corner Rafe at a JordanCon if you were there and confront him like this, like a bad SNL skit.
Yes. Raise your hand. Be honest. I want to see this in chat. Tell us, if you were annoyed by something, would you corner Rafe if he happened to be at JordanCon and tell him how annoyed you were? Because that's, to me, what Brandon is talking about, hardcore fan freaks.
I mean, I'd be totally nice about it, but I'd still corner him.
You would not.
I would too.
See, I love it. By the way, it's so funny watching chat. It's like half yeses, half no's. Like nope, nope, yes. See, to all the no's, yeah, I think this is going to be much easier on you.
Yeah,
So the polite Canadian's willing to do it. So why can't everybody?
That's why I wish Tal was here, because she's the one who called Brandon a dork to his face. So
yes, that's
the only
yeah,
part of that whole quote, and this is hardcore fan freakdom. The part that bothers me is where he says fundamental.
Yes,
and that I'm. What does that mean? Fundamental. What are they fundamentally changing?
Ooh, yeah, I love that. By the way, watching the panel breathe in was a moment. I just want to get that 1 second of like.
It could be something in metaphysics. It could be, no Tellerunriad. It could be,
whoa.
It could be big. It could be something that, is small, but we consider vital.
Well, if he's using the word fundamental, I would think it's something that anyone would think is the foundation of the story in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either the Layla Ibarra, because that would fundamentally change Perrin's character and his reasons for doing things. Could be, I don't know, like you said, the World of Dreams could not be there. That's a huge thing. Portal stones don't exist, and they use waygates instead, or they're combined, or any of those things that could be considered little to some people would be very
no talking wolves.
Yeah, no talking wolves. There you go.
You guys are. Yeah, you're breaking my heart by saying no Tellerunriad.
I'm not suggesting it. I'm just saying,
I feel like Brandon would have been like, Matt will have a problem with this.
It's like I feel like Varen says. What Varen says: if you plan for the worst, all your surprises are pleasant.
That's right.
Yes, that's a good way to think about it.
Maybe that's why he bombed your Zoom. He's getting you ready. He's preparing you, Matt.
Yeah, I don't know, because so I hear that a little bit different. The fundamental question, because he said hardcore fans. So fundamental to hardcore fans. Rafe has already said thematically he doesn't plan on, he's planning on bringing all the themes in. And, I'd be really surprised if it's something that you're kind of, they read the books once and they would watch the show and somehow they would understand or know that something had changed. Does that make sense? To me, this is the fan that's reading the books 5 to 10 times. This is the fan that's talking about it online. This is the fan that's looked up the Wheel of Time, companion, has done some searching, in the interview database, is like cares about some real, minutia. And so that to me, it's fundamental, but specific to something you would notice, I think. And so I think that's a good way for us to kind of investigate it.
So maybe combining minor characters that could be something fundamental to a hardcore fan, but maybe not to a casual reader. I don't know.
Yeah. But by the way,
eliminating the bias against channeling.
Yeah.
That seems to be predominant.
Eliminating the bias against channeling. In what way?
Well, obviously male channelers are the big bugaboo, but there's very much a negative bias against any channeling, any touching the one power. I mean, the White Cloaks take it to an extreme, but you see it in the first scene in Emmons Field where, they grab the pitchforks and the torches to go after Moiraine because she's channeling.
Yeah.
Because she's Aes Sedai.
That's a good call out. By the way, I have to include something that Taylor, our production chief back here, included in chat to me right now. He just said, when he was talking about hardcore fan freaks, he's like, made a YouTube channel and talk about the Wheel of Time on it. Exactly.
Shots fired.
Well said, Taylor. Okay, by the way, this is a live call-in talk show. This is about the time we invite our callers to come in. Remember, give us a call at 1-313-825-5968. That's 1-313-825-5968 or 1-313-TALK-WATT. Give us a call if you want to. We'd love to hear your comments on everything we've talked about. Maybe something we haven't that Rafe or Brandon or Sarah brought up in the last couple shows. Maybe something we're not seeing or missing, or your interpretation of hardcore fan freak. Kind of really interested in. And while we wait for somebody to call there, and before we move on, I want to let's pick another name out of the three. I think this is a good time. Let's take a break and let's pick the next winner of a hardcover The Eye of the World book. A hardcore of The Eye of the World book too.
So it's another turning of the wheel.
Well said. Well said. And our second winner is... It's at Thomas Atkins 38. Well, congratulations at Thomas Atkins 38. I will get a hold of you after the show, or as people know this, tomorrow. It's not going to happen tonight, but I'll get to it tomorrow, and we'll chat and figure out how to get you that book. Congratulations to both winners so far. That'll be fun. We'll do the last one at the end. Those things stood out to me. And when I said reading between the lines, that was the most interesting part. Is there something that stood out to the three of you from those conversations that we had over the last over the last, I guess, 5 or 6 weeks? Because I know, John, you had seen something that was really specific.
Yes, I did. So Glenn, one of the guy that runs my Discord, and he's in chat right now. Hey, Glenn, how's it going?
Hey, Glenn.
He had brought something up to me, and I think he may have already mentioned it in chat, that the maturity rating. So I have been right from the get-go saying that this is probably going to be rated MA because of all the themes in the books, and they want to rival Game of Thrones. But there was some comments from Brandon, Sarah, and Rafe all saying that they would watch this with their kids, or they're excited to watch this with their kids. And I think me and you talked, Matt, earlier, and Brandon wasn't so sure about watching it with his kids. I think he was on the fence about it. But that suggests to me that maybe we're going to see maybe a PG-13 rating, or rating a little bit lower than what everyone is kind of expecting.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because we have started seeing more and more people talk about, I think, was it Sally? Was it one of the directors that mentioned? I'm trying to remember who out there mentioned watching this with their children, but I thought she was one of them. But I think, Brandon said, which is an interesting thing. I want to break this down. Brandon said he wasn't sure what the content was going to be. Now, this is someone who's read all the scripts for all 8 episodes. So in what context, Todd, would Brandon not know what the content was going to be from this perspective? Like, how would you interpret that?
I don't know. That was to me kind of an odd thing to say, because if you've read the books, you know that it's probably not going to be a PG-13, and that you could just go with that based on the violence. But I don't know. That's a hard one for me to pick apart.
Yeah, because I think I jokingly said to John before we began here, well, it's not like if you read the Game of Thrones script that you'd have any doubt. Right? And then Joffrey, you would know, this is going to be the rating. So I don't know, Mary, do you have any ideas here? Like, why would Brandon not have known? Why would he suggest that he was unsure if he's read all the scripts?
I guess it would be depending on how the scripts are actually filmed. I mean, if they keep some of, like what Daniel mentioned, the horror aspects of the fact that it's a giant chase scene, that could be too intense for younger audiences, but not to the level of Game of Thrones crossbow through the boobs type thing going on. So, there are definitely shades of gray. And, we had mentioned in a previous episode of Dusty Wheel about, intimacy coordinators being on the payroll for this show. So, we don't know if that means, intimacy scenes or, bathing scenes, and it could be both. It could be neither. We don't know. And it could be, we know that there are battle scenes. We know that, that's one of the things that Sally Richardson Whitfield mentioned, were battle scenes. And, depending on how bloody those are, how, are we talking about, Lord of the Rings style, or are we talking, the first 10 minutes of Saving Private Ryan?
Right.
It could go in many different ways depending on which way the directors take it.
And maybe to your point, because Brandon's saying he doesn't know, then maybe things in the script are laid out in such a way that he's saying to us, well, it just depends on what they show on screen. In other words, he would know if he could show his kids, if if it was just blatantly, and I think someone brought this up, like there's some like orgy, you'd know, or something to that effect, or if it wasn't, if it was clear that there wasn't a certain level of gore and violence or nudity, if that was like completely clear, he would know. But it's somewhere in between, which I think opens this up. John Mayer said in chat, I think we need to separate what we think of rated R versus American rated R and European rated R, right?
Yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of shades here of what this ends up being. Go ahead, John.
It could depend on any country, really, because every country has their own rating system and what it could mean to us. And I think a lot of us are thinking in the North American way, or in some countries in Europe, even between Canada and the US, our ratings are a little bit different because nudity and violence mean something different in the US and then up here. So I don't know. Like when we talk about ratings, I guess we're all kind of thinking in our own mindset, like, oh, it's not gonna be that bad, but a PG-13 movie here maybe R in some countries.
Yeah, and I think it definitely is going to get a TVMA. I'd be surprised if it's. I mean, I would be shocked. And I want the TVMA only from the perspective of I think this. You need to be afraid, and I think yes, you can show fear in a TV-14. You can be afraid, but it's a different kind of thing. So I feel like how I interpret the TVMA, that's where it has to be, regardless of what they end up showing. And
Innkeeper, Matt, did you ever watch Gotham?
Yes.
That had a TV-14.
Did it really? Gotham was TV-14?
I think so. I'd have to look it up, but that was
it was
broadcast.
Somebody in chat, look that up. I want to know if Gotham was. I need to know because that was an intense. I loved that show, and that was really intense. That was
and then the TV ratings are different from the MPA ratings, and
sure.
I have to laugh at the MPA ratings because those are, will this offend a parent? That's what the rating is based off of. I'm like, oh my gosh, whose parents are we talking about here? I mean, I play Cards Against Humanity with my kids.
Wow. So the Bets said Gotham is TV-14.
TV-14. Okay. Wow. Thanks, Bets, for looking that up.
So
well,
again, that's. I mean, I still would like it, but that's a pretty dark show.
It was a dark show. It touched on some very dark themes. It got a little bloody, but not over the top bloody. Yeah. And a lot of the really bloody stuff happened kind of off camera, but in scene. There are ways to do it that you don't have to have the like many people in chat said, sex and violence are two totally different things, and they there are different cultural norms on what's acceptable and what's not, depending on who's watching it. Which is what, John, that's what you mentioned. And people have different tolerances for things. And I don't know, any sane parent is going to watch something before they let their kids watch it, hopefully. It's like that when Deadpool was out and he put out those PSAs, don't bring your kids to this. Do not bring your kids to this. Please don't bring your kids to this, or we won't be able to make any more of them.
My favorite part of that was like going to the theater and seeing 5-year-olds there.
I was
like, wow.
No.
So they're going to get viewers no matter what the rating they
somebody's going to be offended. I mean, somebody is, we all know somebody. And but to do the series justice for the level of complexity of the story and the nuances in the plot and the interactions between the characters and all the fight scenes, and you just can't start off with blood and guts, because then something like Dumais Wells doesn't hit as hard. And then the last battle and all the other battles, the one that was in Tyr, that one I think was the goriest fight scene before the last battle chapter. No spoilers there. There is a chapter.
No spoilers there. Exactly.
I almost spoiled it there.
Yeah, when people get to the last battle chapter, don't tell yourself just one more chapter, then I'll go to bed. Okay? Don't do what I did.
By the way, Joe Perry just wrote, when I went to see the movie Seven, there was a family of 5 to 10-year-old kids there.
My God!
What's in the box? What's in the box?
No.
We can make fun of that all day. Let's bring in our first caller.
No.
Hey, Emmy, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing?
Emmy.
Yeah. Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. So remind me, what time is it for you right now?
It's currently 2 minutes to midday at the moment.
Wow. So, well, this is a good time for you to jump in and watch.
It's perfect timing for me.
Yeah. So Emmy, for those on the panel that don't remember, what book are you on now? You're a first time reader. What book are you on?
Yesterday I just started Knife of Dreams, so 11.
Awesome.
Nice.
You're getting there.
You're plowing through it fast, Emmy.
Yeah.
You having fun?
I was, yes, definitely. I'm having a lot of fun. I was tossing up whether I should start Knife of Dreams or do New Spring, but I just had to keep reading. So I had to start with book 11. I couldn't put it down.
Okay, hopefully you did mute yourself when Mary,
I
started
did.
talking about Towers of Midnight. So that hopefully.
Yes,
So what is
I
it?
did.
What is it you heard from either Rafe or Brandon or Sarah? What of those is interesting to you? It made you kind of give us a call and chat. Was there anything we said that you didn't agree with or agreed with, or you wanted to elaborate?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to really talk about change and change specifically. And I'm actually really, really excited for some changes, because I think even on your last panel with Katie Sedai and those guys, someone brought up the comment that, we'll always have the books to go back to. We'll always enjoy the books. And so I think the TV show is going to offer something new, which I think is exciting, even if it does veer off a little bit from the books. And I think also someone said in chat just now that the TV show is also for new fans, essentially, people who haven't come to this fandom before or read the books. And so I'm just really excited about watching something that's going to make sense to my friends who haven't read the books, and hopefully bring them into the fold a little bit and get them to enjoy the show as well. So yeah, I'm excited regardless of what they change.
That's good. Hold on. I love that. By the way, that's the best part of fandom, to an extent.
Yeah.
Okay, let me dig there just a little bit. What came to mind when you said to an extent? I'm just kind of curious. I'm always kind of curious.
It has to be Layla Abara. I was like, what?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Well, I'm excited to see what they do with it though, because they could do it really well and completely change my mind. But yeah, that's got a big question mark over my head at the moment.
Yeah. So, but that just shows again to Rafe's point of, when he said for something that you love so much, there's always going to be a point where you're like, I hate this change, or I love this change,
absolutely.
right? And so that part's awesome. What are you anticipating? How much longer it will take to get to the books here? I mean, you're Knife of Dreams at this point. I think the last time we spoke, were you in Path of Daggers?
I think it was on Path of Daggers.
Yeah. So do you have a goal in mind? You're just reading it as fast.
Yeah, I'm sort of punching out a book every 3 weeks. I'm going relatively slow, I guess, for some readers, but that's kind of my pace at the moment. So hopefully, in a couple months' time, I'll have finished the whole series.
I'm excited.
I won't have to mute anything anymore.
I know. I hope we do I don't know that we do a great job of telling people, but this time we should have some kind of, I should talk to Taylor and have him do a banner that says, you can come back, and put that at the bottom of the screen. Like, come back now. People that were on mute.
On top of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me, from everything that we've heard so far from Brandon and Rafe, and like you said, you want to involve your, family, friends, get them involved in this. I think, like you're saying, all of this has been kind of exciting for me too. In the end of the day, I haven't heard anything where even Layla Abara, it's kind of like, it's a non-thing for me. It's like, whatever. It doesn't change fundamentally, I don't think, what I think the story is being told. We're glad to have you along for the ride. Really appreciate you, hanging out with us, and we're looking forward to when we should have you on just for once you're done reading it, then we can just spoil things, and talk about all the nitty gritty details that we couldn't tell you about before.
I love that.
So,
one of us.
Yes.
One of us, exactly. Hey, Emmy, thank you so much for giving us a call, and we'll see you in chat, and we'll talk to you soon.
No, thank you. Okay, sounds good. Bye, guys. Be safe.
Bye.
That's so great. I love hearing the excitement. It'd be so interesting to be reading the books for the first time and having the television show come out just immediately. I feel like there's a certain luck to that after having waited so long for the books. Let's bring the Badger Reborn in. Badger, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing?
Hi, pretty good. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Hey,
so what do you have to say to us?
Well, so I think there's two things that I kind of feel like might be the changes that Brandon's talking about and might affect the ratings of the show.
Interesting. Okay.
The first one being the cursing might be changed from the curses that are in the books, which I love, by the way. Hope they keep to like real life curses. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, I've only read like a little bit of Brandon's other stuff, but I don't think he uses like real life curses in his other books either. So that might be a change he's not comfortable with, and it's not sure he wants his kids to watch. I'm not sure if that's true, but it's kind of a thought I had.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that would be, because you're right. I think he kind of creates his in-world versions of it, similar to what, basically Jordan did also.
What if they leave Uno out? They can't leave Uno out. Oh no, I'm sad.
Yeah, that's
no cursing.
That's an interesting idea, the cursing aspect, because I think I saw Sarah in chat. Hey, Sarah. She was mentioning that she's planning on watching the show with her son. And I know everyone has kind of a different line that they take in these kind of things, but that might be an interesting piece, the cursing aspect. Although you'd think it would be already in the script and he would have built that into his answer. I don't know. That's an interesting theory. So what was the second comment you had?
The second one, which you've already touched on a little bit, but I think specifically Rand and Egwene will have sex in the show, and like early on in one of the episodes. And I think that might also be something Brandon would definitely not have liked, and would maybe be the thing that he thinks a lot of people would really be divided about.
Mm-hmm. Whoa, interesting. I hadn't even gone there, as they say. John, would that change things for you? Rand and Egwene have a more intimate relationship?
No, not really. I can totally see them doing that, just because there really isn't a whole lot of sex in the first book, I guess the best way to put it. And if they added a little, it would help them compete with shows like Game of Thrones or The Witcher. So I can see it. I don't think it would majorly change the story, because when you read the books, they're not even really technically together, even though they say they are at the first of the books. So their relationship was more of a brother and sister type. So I don't know. I can see it happening though.
Yeah, Todd, would this make a material difference to you when they break up, if you will? Like, I always thought this is always a weird part of the story. It's like, Egwene and Rand are, they're just paired off, but in a very kind of backcountry, they don't teach about sex or anything in school kind of way, where these two, because they're not like 13 when we meet them, right?
Right.
And then they always go through the series like, you were supposed to be, we were going to be together, and now you're leaving me. I never felt like emotionally impacted by them separating. Like, I was just like, okay, I don't know why am I supposed to care about this? I kind of wonder. I don't know that this is the big change or something that Brandon would speak about in that way, but it would actually add some impact to me that they had a more intimate relationship, and then when they break up or they decide to go other ways, I would feel it more, at least for me. Todd, do you feel like that would add to this? Like, is it a positive change, or would it be?
I had never even thought about it before, but they're 17, 18 years old, and
no, he is. She's only 16.
Well, that kind of stuff goes on. That's high school. I could see it, but I don't know if I would. It wouldn't bother me. I guess I could see it, but I hope that's something that doesn't really happen.
Yeah, well, and that's if they keep those ages, right? That's if they keep those ages.
And to me, they were promised to each other. It's not like they were actually dating, or how do they put it? They didn't stand before the council, or I don't know, the poll. I don't remember how they say it, but they never stood for each other. They hadn't made it to that age yet, I guess.
Yeah, and so that's going to come back. That's the real question: is how
I wish I could remember exactly how they said that.
Yeah,
but stand before the women's circle and state their intentions. And in fact, when we first see Gwen in the opening chapters of Eye of the World, that's the first time we see her hair braided, which is the outward symbol that she is now old enough to marry. So that's how young she is.
Yeah, I guess maybe in the end, regardless of if they've, their show kind of puts them together from an intimacy standpoint, I'm hoping some level of depth to their relationship other than what we saw in the books. I guess that's mostly my point there. Badger, thank you very much, man. Really appreciate the call. As always,
you got us all thinking, man.
Yeah, now we're like, oh, wait,
I never thought of that before this. So,
yeah. So, hey, man, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I hope you all have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you later.
So we have we'll bring our next caller. Who looks like a first-time caller. I think his name is Adrian. Adrian, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Good. How you guys doing?
Great. So what have we been talking about that's of interest, or what's kind of piqued your curiosity and made you call?
Also the changes in the show. I haven't seen everything that the creators have said so far, so I was kind of wondering if you know more about what he said about how they're going to portray the weaves, and wondering if maybe one of the changes is that they make it so that non-channelers can see the weaves.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's I don't think they've talked in detail. I think, was it Rafe that said he saw some channeling for the first time? Did he say that in Instagram, John? Do you remember that in Answers? I thought he talked about having seen channeling. I thought somebody did. He talked about seeing channeling. I thought it was really well done.
I know that.
I remember him saying that.
Yeah, he said he was impressed by the CG and the VFX. So,
yeah, but that's an interesting point, Adrian. And that's a good question for the panel. Would you be okay with how they handle seeing weaves? Is it important to you that it's only something that channelers can even get a glimpse of, or do you want the would it be more impactful if I guess your average whatever villager could actually see the weaves?
I think it takes something away from the weaves if that was to happen. I like the idea that only a female can see a female channel. Only a female channeler can see a female channeler, and only a male can see a male. I kind of like the way that works. Yeah,
I think that if they did change it that way, it would be a negative, 100% a negative.
Right, because everybody's going to know that that she's channeling, or
Well, when they talk about it in the books, it's magic to a lot of people. Things just kind of happen. They don't know how it happens, but when channelers talk about it, they're almost like engineers laying out how they're going to build something. So if everyone saw that, it would take away a lot of the magic and the mystery around channeling, I think.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I mean, I can tell like a lot of people in chat are saying, they think they would, mess with the plot overall. They would certainly have to take that into account. But if you think about it, it is something that they have to worry about, right? As they're doing these things, your extras can't act like they know something's going on, right? I'm sure there's some logistical, problems with trying to implement this in real life in a visual medium, because you have to care about how everyone around you is acting and whether or not they should be able to see it, right, or not, or understand what's going on or not. And so I'm sure that's something that's come up, right? I'm sure if they haven't done what Adrian suggested and they've left it as it is, I'm sure they've had to reshoot things where it's like, stop looking, or you don't know what's going on, look away. So Adrian, is there something that before I let you go here, by the way, again, thanks for being a first time caller, is there something that if they changed this in the books, you wouldn't watch the series at all? Is there anything that they could fundamentally they just change something, you're like, I'm done, I'm walking away from this? Or are you always just going to watch whatever they put out there?
Definitely the first couple seasons. I watched all the way through Game of Thrones, and even when I thought that was going downhill. So I'll watch as much as I can, and if it's really bad, then I'll make that decision. There's nothing I can think of right now that would stop me from watching it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way for all of us to go in, which is, you have to, right? I think you're right with the Game of Thrones. I probably would have still watched it out. Like the last season, even knowing that a lot of the stuff they were just kind of, I guess you can't say they were making up on the fly. I guess they had some consultation, but the fact that there wasn't book material, it was a bit annoying. But I still wanted to know how they were going to end it. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. A lot of this is, I think they're winning the fans over. I'm sure that's high on their minds, which is, how do we keep them coming back for more, and how do we build this fan base even bigger as we go? So, yeah, that's a good point. Will they lose us after 3 seasons or not? That's a great point. Hey, Adrian, thank you so much for calling. Really appreciate it, and thanks for your idea there.
Yeah,
we'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
You too.
Yep.
Night.
So that's great questions. I really appreciate when we get first-time callers coming in and just thinking about the show like a little bit different than I have. I hadn't even gone there and thought to myself, what happens if they just change something? Again, that goes to the fundamentals that Brandon's talking about. I know all of us are like, that would be stupid. but again, would it be stupid to everyone or just stupid to us?
It's a different turning of the wheel.
That's right.
There you go. Yeah.
Let's bring in our next caller. Lancer, Norm, welcome to the Dusty Wheel, man. How you doing?
Hey, you guys. How you doing this evening?
Good. So what? I mean, I know. By the way, we always love having you call in, but is there something specific that just kind of made you like, I've got to respond? About something Rafe or Brandon said.
I think the main thing is that I don't believe that Rafe is going to make changes just to make changes. There's always got to be a fundamental reason behind it, and it has to be a logical reason. Otherwise, making a change for change's sake, just to get a reaction out of fans or whatnot, it will just completely blow the show out of the water. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's
so. I
go ahead.
No, so it's just I know that because we don't know, because there's that unknown, that's why we're having all this speculation, and that's all great and wonderful and awesome. But we have to remember that there's not just going to be a change for change sake. There's got to be a long-term reason as to why this is happening.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. Which is whether we like a change they make or not. I hope that that's the case. One will hope that every one of those changes has a long-term kind of awareness of how it affects the plot and how it affects everything else, and that they don't forget something in the future, because the more of those, right, the more of those threads you pull out or you modify, the more repercussions it could have. But I absolutely agree with you that in the end, Rafe isn't going out making changes because he can. Right? That's not the point. He's making changes because he believes he has to. And he talked about that. I think in the interview I had asked him about that, does it pain him when he has to, he makes a choice where he's like, this is a change. And he talked about that. Like there's a loss and there's a gain to all the decisions that he's making. And I think that's a good way for us to think about it, right? Like, he sees a gain here and he does see a loss, but he feels like it's necessary to make a change. So yeah, that's a good call out. I saw somebody, I think it was Alexander in chat, said that Rafe did remind us that he's not changing as much as we, as much as some of us may have been live adapting the show and have changed, in the past, as we think about changes. And I think Brandon called that out too, right? Brandon didn't say 7, 8, 9 huge changes. So yeah, that's a good reminder. Appreciate you calling in, Lancer, man. Hope you have a good evening, and we'll see you next week.
You guys take care. Take care.
Good night.
I think we have one last caller. Let's bring him into the show. Hi, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing tonight? Blues? Is that your name?
Oh, sorry about that. I was on mute. Yeah.
No worries, man. Hey, yes, it's okay. I was like, I think you're there. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great. I just saw that you guys were on live right now. I very rarely get online when you guys are live. So, I decided to give a call because I got a basic question. And then it's
go for it.
I've been hearing you guys talk about it, and I have no idea. I just want to preface this with the fact that I don't research. I don't read the Reddit posts, and then I really don't follow much except what I see sometimes pop up in my YouTube feeds. So I don't know what to talk about Laila Ibarra is. And
Okay.
and aside from that, when it comes to the changes, another thing I would like to ask about is, was there any indication of there would be changes to Rand's love interests in the series, and might that not be one of the things that they might have to change to try and not make him look like a gigolo?
I love it. Okay, I think the first one, and John, do you want to give a go on the Laila Ibarra? You want to explain that?
So a report came out, I think it was either late last year or early this year, that Helena Westerman was playing Laila Ibarra, and there was a lot of speculation on who that could be. And I think it was a comic book website broke the news, and it was a pretty badly worded article with a lot of really terrible language in it. But it did say that they had a source that told them that Layla was his wife and that he kills her on Winter Night by accident, and that kind of sets up his story arc for the show. So a lot of people are just pure bull. And that's a lot of people's opinion on that, is that's not true at all. And some other people are speculating that she might be a sister or a cousin or someone else in the family, but that's where that's coming from. That's why whenever you hear that name, everybody kind of rolls their eyes.
Yeah. So I mean, and let me just follow up a little more detail there, which is that it's not an official announced individual, although I think we have seen her in photos with the cast. Mm-hmm. So Helena Westerman? Yeah. She's a part of the show, as far as we know. I think one of the sites, it might have been WatchSeries.com, found her, CV on her page that pretty much said she was a part of the Wheel of Time show, and it included her name that it would be Laila Ibarra. And so I think ever since we've had that, then we started getting these kind of ideas of, what is it going to be? And one, like John said, one of the sites put out this information that supposedly was that theory, which I, definitely is a theory right now. But there is this character, supposedly, named Laila Ibarra that's somehow connected to the Ibarras. So that's where it comes from.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and then to your second question, I don't know, Rand the Gigolo. Mary, are you concerned? Are you concerned about how they're going to handle the love interest? And do you think that Rafe and his team are going to make any changes in that regard?
Yes, I'm concerned, but I don't think they're going to make any changes. I think that might be one thing that's kind of, I honestly have no idea. It can go in so many different directions. I think he's going to get a lot of pressure from people outside the Wheel of Time fandom about how to handle it, because there are a lot of social taboos associated with the way things played out in the books. So I'm curious to, I don't know how it's going to play out. I get the feeling they're not going to axe any of those characters or combine any of them. I don't know if they're going to change so that they're not love interests. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'd be curious to see how it actually does play out. I don't know. I'm at a loss. I really am. I mean, all three characters, despite my strong opinions about one of them, all three characters are fascinating in their own right. Mm-hmm. Actually, all four characters are fascinating in their own right. And does changing that aspect of their character fundamentally change who they are in the series? In one of them, I'd say yes. The others, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, how would you like to? Sorry, what was your name again?
Blues.
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 How would you like them to handle it? Would you like them to just take it directly from the books themselves, or do you think it should be changed?
Well, personally, I'd like to, as much as possible, I'd like them to stick to the books. But when it comes to that, when I also understand that it's a TV show that they're trying to make sure launches and succeeds, just like Game of Thrones did. And so in that regard, if I was running it, I'd make some changes that'll make it more appealing to the general audience and not just to the Wheel of Time audience because of the fans. Mainly because of the fact that you want to gather everyone in as much as possible, because in the end, it is a business. It is a show, but it's also a business. So I'm kind of torn I know that they might have to make those changes, but I would love for them to stick to the material as much as possible.
Yeah, no, I think that's
I hope
it's a reasonable thing.
I think that I hope they play up that the IE will do this a lot, and that's part of their society, and that Rand is basically Aiel. I don't know if they'll be able to make that come through very well in the series, but
that would be one way to do it.
I think that's the way that they're going to have to play it, so that people understand where it's coming from.
And also with Alana and her warders.
That's probably where they'll introduce it first, because they have said that in interviews that they have sex with their warders. I can't remember exact wording or anything like that, but it says they're intimate with their warders. I think in one of the interviews that one of them, I don't know if it was the guy who played Yvonne, but he said something to that effect anyway. So they may introduce it that way too.
Yeah, all this is like extremely compelling. It's like, how are they going to, there's so many individual small changes that they could make, big changes. You know, Brandon said fairly large issues. You know, how do you interpret that? And I guess that's why we have the show, is to speculate all about the stuff. Hey, Blues, thank you very much for being a viewer, and really appreciate you being a first-time caller today. And hopefully we'll talk to you again soon, okay? Yeah, thank you.
Have a good.
Bye-bye. So that all of these people have brought up great questions. I've been trying to track chat and see the conversation going on there. And I know we have one more caller, and we'll bring that caller in just a second, and then we will tie things up for the night. I just want to say thanks to the three of you for doing this on a weekly basis. John, you do your own stuff on your channel. Really appreciate all of that work. And
thank you so much.
And yeah, so I appreciate having you here today. It looks like
it's a pleasure. I have a great time when I'm here.
Looks like we might have lost that caller. So sorry, whoever that caller was. And we will, we should do that last spin. Thank you very much for the reminders. I almost ended the show without giving the last winner. So let's throw up the third The Eye of the World hardcover book, and good luck to everyone who entered.
Spin it.
Spin it. Always could use a new mug.
Yeah, I'm like sitting here like staring. And it is Wheel of Time Game is the winner. Nice job. That works so appropriately for our last winner. The Wheel of Time Game wins the third book. So congratulations to all three of you. Hopefully you'll use those books and you will join the reread that Amazon Prime has going on. It's on Twitter. You can go find them on Watt on Prime or Wheel of Time on Prime. Just go look them up and follow them. It's a lot of fun. It's every Watt Wednesday. Seems like they're going to be doing it right around, I think it's like 1 p.m. Eastern, and they start putting out questions. It was an interesting kind of format today, and like I said, I look forward to seeing it grow. And for anyone that we missed on the calls, be back here next Wednesday. In fact, you could be here Monday night. You may want to give us a call then. Like I said, we have a little surprise show. Maybe we'll put a little more about it, but likely you'll learn all about it on Monday. Plan to show up here normal time, 9 p.m. Eastern, and I might even have a special guest with me that night to talk all about it. We'll see how that turns out, and talk all about it. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate all of you that are viewing us. If you're still watching us over on Facebook and Twitter, make sure you come over, subscribe, and give us a like to the video so other fans find out about the channel. I can't wait, like I said, for Monday and the next Wednesday and all the shows we keep doing. I love this format, and I can't wait till the show launches when we're doing this. So, and as we say from around here, good night and smash to black.
If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.